There are more possible chess games than atoms in the universe. Chess is more than just a board game. It's a portrait of the human experience compressed into 64 squares. At first glance, it's merely a contest in which two opponents move pieces around, each maneuvering to capture the other's king. But behind every move lies a tangle of emotions, calculations, hopes, and fears. In that sense, the chessboard mirrors the human mind at work. The best moves require clarity, confidence, and strategic vision. The worst moves often sprout from panic, overconfidence, or the blindness that emotion can bring. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we will delve into the psychology of chess. If you enjoy playing chess, feel free to subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to take notes as well as compare chess to life. Feel free to comment on any chess tips you have for beginners. In the corridors of chess history, legends like Magnus Carlsen, Garry Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, and many others have shown us that it's not enough to have a strong opening repertoire or a knack for quick tactics. One must wrestle with the psychology behind every position, self-doubt in the face of a formidable opponent, euphoria when the advantage is in your favor, the daunting feeling of time pressure, and the discipline required to convert a win into a reality. Why devote so much reflection to this psychology of chess? It's because, as all serious chess players eventually discover, the difference between defeat and victory often lurks within the mind. The best players in the world have studied countless variations and endgames, yet when the tension rises and the clock ticks down, psychological steadiness can make or break the game, revealing how the chessboard can serve not only as an arena of competition, but also as a teacher, a counselor, and a philosophical mirror. Think of the chessboard as a metaphor for life's challenges. Each piece has its role. Pawns can represent the small, everyday steps we take. The knight might symbolize the creative leaps we make in problem solving. The queen, with her sweeping power, embodies ambition, intuition, and wide-ranging capabilities. When these components work in harmony, success becomes possible. Likewise, any major strategic decision calls to mind the plans we make in real life, analyzing risks, anticipating opposition, and cultivating patience. The shape of the battlefield, order and chaos on the board. Take a moment to visualize the clean geometry of the chessboard: 8 rows, 8 columns, and black and white squares in alternating arrangement. Despite its perfectly ordered pattern, the moment the pieces start moving, a new layer of complexity emerges. There is perfect knowledge, no hidden cards, no fog of war, yet that does not make the game straightforward. In fact, the clarity of the setup underscores the intricacy of human decision-making. We know what the opponent sees, but we can never be entirely sure what they're thinking or feeling. This dynamic is equally relevant to life outside of chess. People often share the same environment, but their reactions differ according to their unique interpretations and emotional states. Two players can look at the exact same position and come up with drastically different moves. One might see a bold sacrifice, while the other sees a slow positional improvement. In a very real sense, it's the mind that animates the board, not the pieces themselves. Today's video is brought to you by chess.com. The world's #1 online chess platform. Whether you're just learning how the pieces move, or you're a seasoned player looking for serious competition, chess.com has something for everyone. They offer live-in daily matches at various speeds, interactive lessons and puzzles to boost your skills, comprehensive game analysis to spot mistakes and improve, tournaments and community events for all levels. Ready to sharpen your game? Sign up for free using the link below. Big thanks to chess.com for supporting this channel. Now, let's get back to the show. Chess and the art of planning. If we distilled the essence of chess psychology into one word, that word might be planning. A common misconception is that elite players immediately see the best move in any position. In reality, top-level chess is about creating multiple strategic objectives, staying flexible, and being ready to pivot if circumstances change. This planning process is akin to building a roadmap for the future, with various pathways depending on how the opponent responds. A classic illustration comes from Magnus Carlsen's style. Known for his uncanny endgame prowess and positional mastery, Carlsen's planning often begins as early as the opening. His hallmark is that he sets small, subtle problems for his opponent, steadily accumulating advantages. Once he gains a slight edge, perhaps a better pawn structure or a small lead in development, he transitions into an endgame plan. Carlsen has stated that his goal is to keep tension on the board, wait for inaccuracies, and capitalize on even the tiniest errors. This approach demands an ironclad psychological mindset, the patience to play for small advantages, the confidence to trust that one's plan will bear fruit, and the determination to keep searching for opportunities even when they're not immediately obvious are traits that define Carlsen. From a psychological standpoint, adopting such planning in our daily lives entails setting incremental goals, seeking improvement in small steps, and persisting when progress seems invisible. The Philosophy of Chess: Lessons in the Heart of Battle. While it might sound grandiose to talk about the philosophy of chess, it's impossible to avoid deeper questions when you truly immerse yourself in the game. Chess players often speak about the existential weight of making a move. Once you lift your hand from the piece, there's no turning back. Just as in life, certain decisions become irreversible once made. German philosopher and chess enthusiast Emanuel Lasker famously asserted that chess is a struggle against error. Every move aims to correct or prevent mistakes while attempting to induce them in your opponent. When you apply that lens to real life, every decision you make is also an attempt to avoid pitfalls while remaining vigilant for opportunities. The practical difficulty, of course, is that you can't foresee every potential outcome. This realization can breed humility, a quality many great champions possess. After all, the moment you believe you are infallible, you become the perfect target for a cunning adversary. Moreover, the game's philosophical dimension invites you to explore how you deal with uncertainty. No matter how skilled you are in calculation, you can never fully anticipate your opponent's entire plan. For some players, that gap produces anxiety or self-doubt. For others, it sparks curiosity and a sense of possibility. It's a testament to the duality of the human psyche. Fear and excitement often walk hand in hand. A brief story, the gambit that changed a career. To illustrate this interplay of mindset and planning, let me share a story about a local chess talent. Let's call him Gabriel, who dreamed of becoming a grandmaster. In his early 20s, Gabriel had a strong tactical style, but struggled in long, grinding games. He often played hyper-aggressive openings like the King's Gambit, aiming to unsettle opponents quickly. One day, Gabriel faced an international master who was known for rock-solid defensive play. True to form, Gabriel threw all caution to the wind, sacrificed a piece in the opening, and generated a fierce attack. For a while, it seemed unstoppable. However, the international master calmly consolidated his position, weathered the storm, and eventually forced Gabriel into a losing endgame. After the game, Gabriel was devastated. His plan had been too narrow, based on the assumption that aggression alone would prevail. Yet this loss became a turning point in Gabriel's career. He realized he needed a more flexible mindset, planning not just for an immediate knockout, but also for the possibility his opponent might neutralize his aggression. Over time, he began to appreciate slower maneuvers, transitions into equal or slightly better endgames, and the psychological advantage of unpredictability. In essence, Gabriel learned that real mastery lies in a multifaceted understanding of the game, not a single dimension. Why psychology is the king's crown. From this and countless other anecdotes, we see how pivotal psychology is in chess. It governs the emotional tenor of your game, shaping how you respond to challenges. You might be a brilliant calculator who can foresee tactics 5 moves deep, but if you panic under time pressure or lose focus after a slight inaccuracy, your strong skill set won't amount to much. In interviews, Magnus Carlsen often discusses the importance of feeling confident and relaxed at the board. His genial, composed demeanor masks the ferocity of his calculations, but it also helps him maintain mental balance when the position on the board becomes chaotic. By contrast, Some players wear their hearts on their sleeves. When things go awry, they slump in their chairs, their eyes darting around, betraying their stress. The board might be neutral, but their psychological state indicates inner turmoil that often translates into further mistakes. Understanding these human elements is crucial, whether you're a casual player wanting to improve or an aspiring master. Chess is not just about studying the Najdorf Sicilian or the Ruy Lopez. It's about knowing yourself, your tendencies, your triggers, your emotional reflexes, and molding them to fit the demands of competitive play. Mindset, the foundation of chess mastery. One of the most striking aspects of competitive chess is that two players can face the exact same position and yet see completely different realities. Why? Because the lenses through which they view the board, shaped by their past experiences, current emotional state, and overall mindset, inform their decisions. Just as in life, the mind's framework can determine whether we see obstacles or opportunities. Now, in every high-level chess match, you'll see moments where the position hangs on a knife's edge. Maybe it's a complicated middle game with both kings under threat, or an end game where one pawn can become a new queen at any moment. At these critical junctures, your mindset becomes your best friend, or your worst enemy. Confidence is a key ingredient. If you have trust in your calculations and your intuition, you're more likely to spot the move that seizes the initiative. On the flip side, overconfidence can blind you to simple refutations from your opponent. There's a fine balance here, enough self-belief to strike fear into your opponent, but not so much that you stop verifying your ideas. Chess history is littered with examples of players who overreached because of unchecked ego. Even a world champion can lose if they assume victory is certain before it's actually on the board. Another element of mindset is resilience. Consider a scenario where you're in a losing position, down a piece or saddled with a crippling structural weakness. Many players resign themselves to defeat at that point. But a strong competitor will fight on, hoping that pressure or complacency might cause the opponent to stumble. Grandmasters often recount games where they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat simply by staying vigilant and creating small, annoying threats. In life too, adversity doesn't necessarily dictate an inevitable outcome. Resilience can tip the scales in your favor when all seems lost. Handling mistakes, bouncing back from blunders. No matter how skilled you are, blunders will happen, both in chess and in life. A single slip can transform a carefully cultivated advantage into a sudden disaster. The question then becomes, how do you deal with mistakes? Psychologically, there's a tendency to spiral. You make a mistake, you panic, and then you make another blunder in the aftermath. This compounding effect can be devastating in a tournament setting, where every game matters. The first step in handling mistakes is acceptance. The moment you acknowledge you've messed up, you free your mind to focus on damage control rather than wallowing in regret. Magnus Carlsen has noted in interviews that he's not immune to mistakes, but he prides himself on how quickly he rebounds. Instead of dwelling on an inaccuracy, he immediately shifts to the practical question: how do I make it as hard as possible for my opponent to convert this advantage? That perspective transforms self-criticism into constructive problem-solving. A famous example of bouncing back from a blunder can be found in Garry Kasparov's games. In a critical World Championship match, Kasparov overlooked a tactical shot from Anatoly Karpov, losing a central pawn and facing a menacing attack. Rather than crumbling, Kasparov fought tooth and nail, creating counter-threats on the opposite wing, and eventually salvaged a draw. When asked about it later, Kasparov explained that he quickly shifted from being upset about the lost pawn to focusing on complicating Karpov's position. This transition from despair to purposeful action is the hallmark of a champion's mindset. In real life, mistakes are also inevitable, whether it's a project error at work or a miscommunication with a friend or partner. The chessboard teaches us that while we can't undo a bad decision, we can fight for the best outcome given our new circumstances. That shift in mentality, from guilt and regret toward resilience, can make all the difference. Intuition versus calculation. The great balancing act. Ask any seasoned player about their decision-making process during a chess game, and you'll likely hear a combination of two words, intuition and calculation. Intuition is that gut feeling that a move must be right before you've fully worked out the specifics. Calculation is the methodical checking of variations, sometimes 5 or 6 moves deep, to verify that your intuitive hunch holds water. Consider a scenario from one of Vishy Anand's finest games. Anand, known for his lightning-fast sight of the board, often made moves that commentators initially deemed illogical until they delved deeper into the position. In interviews, Anand would explain that his experience and pattern recognition told him that a particular piece sacrifice was likely to yield strong compensation. Only after the game, with the help of analysis engines, did the chess world fully appreciate the depth of his concept. In psychological terms, intuition is the subconscious synthesis of knowledge accumulated over countless hours of studying and playing. It arises from pattern recognition, seeing a typical arrangement of pawns and pieces and recalling, at lightning speed, the inherent ideas and dangers. Calculation, on the other hand, is the conscious, systematic process of verifying lines. If I play move A, my opponent can respond with move B or move C, and I must check each possibility carefully. Balancing these two aspects is critical. Relying too heavily on intuition can lead you to gloss over details, like missing a critical defensive resource or underestimating a counterattack. Conversely, relying solely on calculation can cause time trouble and mental exhaustion, especially in complex positions where there are many branches to consider. The sweet spot for most grandmasters is an interplay where intuition guides them toward a few promising candidate moves, and then calculation refines the choice. This interplay mirrors real life. When faced with big decisions, career changes, major purchases, or even personal relationships, we often start with a gut feeling. Then, we weigh the pros and cons methodically, effectively calculating whether our intuition stands up to reason. Chess trains us to trust our instincts, but also to verify them. It's a skill set that resonates far beyond the board. The flow state in chess, being in the zone. Many a chess player has described the near mystical experience of being in the zone, that mental state where every piece seems to coordinate perfectly in your mind and moves flow effortlessly. Psychologists often refer to this as flow. It's that sweet spot of motivation and challenge where the brain is fully immersed in an activity. In sports, it's the basketball player who can't miss a shot. In music, it's the concert pianist who seems to play with supernatural ease. In chess, it's the game where every plan just clicks. Bobby Fischer was famous for entering these trance-like states at the board. Observers would comment on his unblinking gaze, his incredible focus, and the sense that he was almost in another dimension. For Fischer, it was not merely about winning pieces or finishing off an opponent. It was about the artistry of creating a masterpiece on the board. To tap into flow, one needs just the right level of mental stimulation. If the challenge is too easy, boredom ensues. If it's too hard, anxiety and frustration take over. Great chess players thrive when they push themselves to the limit, meeting challenging positions with intense curiosity. From a psychological standpoint, reaching a flow state also means tuning out external distractions, whether that's the crowd watching you, the ticking of the clock, or your own doubts. In everyday life, finding flow might mean immersing yourself in a passion project, a demanding task at work, or even a creative hobby. The same principles apply. Eliminate distractions, match the difficulty level to your skill set, and commit wholeheartedly to the moment. Chess shows us the value of that single-minded dedication. The board is a microcosm of our lives. Throughout history, people have viewed the chessboard as a symbolic representation of everything from warfare to personal relationships. The interplay of black and white squares offers a stark metaphor for life's dualities, right and wrong, risk and safety, light and dark. Yet, just as life isn't black and white, a chess game quickly devolves into a spectrum of greys once pieces start moving. Positionally, you might have a slight disadvantage offset by better development, or a strong bishop pair that's balanced by a compromised pawn structure. Similarly, in everyday life, we rarely encounter situations that are unequivocally good or bad. There are always trade-offs. opportunities that come with risks, choices that improve one aspect of our life but might complicate another. Chess trains the mind to think in nuanced terms, acknowledging that no single factor can be evaluated in isolation. When we plan, we mirror the chessboard's complexity. Maybe you're saving for a house, but also considering taking a sabbatical to explore the world. Or you're weighing a job promotion that promises a higher salary, but also more stress. Like a chess player choosing a strategy, you have to foresee potential pitfalls, manage your resources, time, energy, money, and anticipate the opponent in these scenarios, market conditions, unexpected life events, competition. The more we become aware of these parallels, the more we see chess as a mental gym where we can safely practice the art of decision-making. Emotional regulation at the board. One of the hidden arts of chess mastery is the ability to manage one's emotions during a game. Emotions can surge to the forefront after a tactical oversight, a narrowly missed opportunity, or a brilliant maneuver that forces the opponent on the defensive. These emotional peaks and troughs can have a profound effect on decision-making. Keeping a cool head while every nerve in your body is firing is one of the hallmarks of an elite competitor. Take, for instance, Magnus Carlsen. Often called the Mozart of chess, Carlsen has a laid-back demeanor, but beneath that calm exterior is a furnace of competitive spirit. Observers at top-level events have noticed that Carlsen rarely displays overt frustration. When asked about it, he admitted that he does feel tense or irritated after a blunder, but he trains himself to focus on the position rather than indulge those emotions. By doing so, he anchors his attention on constructive problem-solving. Instead of mentally punishing himself for an error, he looks for practical chances to turn the tables. This skill is not innate, it's nurtured through countless hours of playing under pressure and deliberately conditioning the mind to stay balanced. For many players, the emotional roller coaster begins in the opening. If the opponent chooses a variation you didn't expect, anxiety may creep in, and the fear of being out-prepared can destabilize your thought process. Conversely, if you gain a quick advantage, overconfidence might lead to complacency. In both scenarios, being aware of your emotional state is crucial. Small rituals, like taking a deep breath before each move, or briefly stepping away from the board, if allowed in the playing venue, can help reset your mindset. Emotional regulation is equally relevant beyond chess. Whether it's a high-stakes business negotiation, a job interview, or a personal conflict, the ability to remain composed under stress is invaluable. Emotional swings are natural, but learning to channel that energy productively can pave the way for clearer, more balanced decisions. Nerves under pressure, tales from the chess arena. Even the world's best players have experienced moments when nerves nearly got the best of them. One famous instance occurred during the 1972 World Championship match between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky. Fischer, usually fearless, forfeited the second game by not showing up on time, unsettled by venue conditions and various personal anxieties. This fiasco put him behind in the match score right from the start. Many assumed that psychological tension would doom Fischer's chances. Yet, after regaining his composure, he proceeded to launch a series of brilliant attacks against Spassky, eventually claiming the world title. Fischer's ability to rebound from a nerve-wracking start exemplifies how mental fortitude can reshape the trajectory of a competition. Another case involves Garry Kasparov, often described as one of the most intense competitors in chess history. Known for pacing around the stage, his eyes darting with fierce concentration, Kasparov sometimes let his nerves show. In one match against Vladimir Kramnik, Kasparov faced a position where Kramnik's deep preparation caught him off guard. Observers noted Kasparov's visible frustration, his eyebrows furrowed, and he repeatedly ran a hand through his hair. Yet, in the post-game interview, he explained how he coached himself back into a calmer state by focusing on concrete factors in the position: pawn structure, piece coordination, and potential counterplay. By dissecting the position logically, Kasparov mitigated his emotional turmoil and steered the game towards safer waters. These stories illustrate that no competitor, no matter how exalted, can fully escape the grip of nerves. The real question is how you deal with them. The coping strategies vary. Some use internal self-talk, focus on the board, not the scoreboard. Others rely on tried and true routines, taking sips of water, adjusting pieces neatly, doing quick breathing exercises. The common thread is having a method to harness emotional energy rather than letting it hijack the decision-making process. Visualization, seeing the board and beyond. Chess is often described as a game of mental imagery. When a grandmaster calculates, they don't just see the current arrangement of pieces, they envision the board several moves ahead. They mentally shift pieces around, exploring different lines as if they're mapping future realities. This skill, known as visualization, is paramount in chess. Let's break down how it works. Suppose you're analyzing a position in which you're contemplating a knight sacrifice on f5. Before committing to the move, you imagine how the board will look after you remove your knight from its current square and place it on f5. You also visualize your opponent's potential responses. Will they capture your knight with the pawn, or will they ignore it and threaten something else? You mentally construct several branching paths, each step requiring you to maintain an accurate picture of the board. Strong visualization doesn't come overnight. Players like Anatoly Karpov and Vishy Anand have famously trained their visualization skills by looking at chess puzzles without a board, moving the pieces in their head to see if a tactic works. Another common technique is blindfold chess, where players call out moves verbally without physically seeing the pieces. While this may seem like an esoteric exercise, it hones one's ability to keep track of multiple variables in the mind, an invaluable skill in regular chess. Beyond the board, visualization can be a powerful tool in personal growth. Athletes often use mental imagery to rehearse their routines before a competition. Students may visualize themselves delivering a flawless presentation to calm their nerves. The principle remains the same. By vividly imagining the steps and the outcome, you build a mental roadmap that can help guide real-life execution. Emotional energy and creative play. It might sound contradictory to say that emotions can fuel creativity, especially after we've spent time discussing how to regulate or dampen them. But there's a healthy middle ground. Chess is, at its core, a creative endeavor, designing an unexpected queen sacrifice, weaving a mating net, or orchestrating a positional squeeze. Sometimes, a surge of excitement can propel a player to find a brilliant, imaginative idea that a calmer mindset might have overlooked. Consider the style of Mikhail Tal, the 8th world champion often referred to as the magician from Riga. Tal's games bristle with daring sacrifices and improbable combinations. Witness accounts describe how his eyes would light up when he sensed a whirlwind attack. That emotional spark, rather than throwing him off balance, seemed to sharpen his vision. He used that fervor as momentum to see resources that others missed. Of course, Tal's approach was risky. If a sacrifice was unsound, he could quickly fall behind. But when it worked, it was pure artistry, backed by a mind that harnessed emotion rather than succumbing to it. In real life, harnessing emotional energy can lead to innovative problem-solving. Sometimes frustration at a recurring problem pushes us to devise a novel solution, or a burst of excitement for a project catalyzes a breakthrough idea. The key is not letting those emotions spiral into chaos or complacency. Rather, we learn to direct them productively, much like Tal did on the board. Practical takeaways: applying chess psychology to daily life. The insights gleaned from emotional regulation, handling nerves, and developing visualization aren't limited to the chessboard. Self-awareness. Recognize your emotional triggers. In chess, it might be an unexpected move from your opponent. In life, it could be negative feedback from a boss or colleague. Understanding when and why your emotions surge is the first step toward managing them productively. Centering techniques. Borrow from top chess players who recenter themselves with small rituals. In daily life, this might involve a moment of mindfulness, taking a slow, deep breath before replying to an email that's rubbed you the wrong way. Scenario planning. Visualization in chess is akin to scenario planning in life. When faced with a big decision, like moving to a new city or starting a business, take the time to mentally walk through potential outcomes. This helps you anticipate obstacles and prepare solutions in advance. Embrace tension. Some degree of pressure can heighten performance. Channel that adrenaline into constructive focus rather than letting it devolve into panic or avoidance. Recover quickly. Mistakes will happen, whether it's a blunder in chess or a misstep at work. The quicker you accept the mistake and shift to problem-solving mode, the more likely you are to salvage a good result. Tap into emotions for creativity. Don't be afraid of your emotions. Just as Tal blended daring excitement with careful calculation, allow your own passion to inspire fresh solutions. The trick is to balance emotion with logic so you don't lose your strategic footing. Through these practical takeaways, we can see how chess serves as a training ground for life's ups and downs. Each game is a mini journey, where success depends not only on skill, but also on poise under pressure, imaginative thinking, and a healthy understanding of one's emotional landscape. Strategic paradigms, a new layer of the mind game. When observers first learn chess, they focus on piece movements, how the knight jumps in an L shape, or how the rook travels in straight lines. As they improve, players begin to see deeper patterns, which pawn structures are strong, why controlling the center is so pivotal, and how certain openings lead to specific types of positions. Yet, at a higher level, these positional concepts expand into broader strategic paradigms that underpin the game. These paradigms are where chess psychology truly flourishes, because they reflect not just technique, but also one's philosophy of engaging with uncertainty and complexity. In real life, you might call these paradigms frameworks or mental models. In chess, they might be known by specific names like the principle of two weaknesses, prophylaxis, or accumulation of small advantages. While each concept is rooted in tangible board positions, they also speak to larger truths about planning, patience, and adaptability. The principle of two weaknesses, applying pressure from multiple angles. A cornerstone of Grandmaster strategy is the principle of two weaknesses. The idea is simple on paper. If your opponent has a single weak point, say an isolated pawn, they can often defend it with relative ease. But if you create or identify a second weakness, another pawn or square that needs protection, your opponent's forces become stretched too thin. In trying to guard both vulnerable spots, cracks eventually appear. At some point, you exploit those cracks to break through. Psychologically, this principle teaches that focused pressure is good, but multifaceted pressure is often decisive. Imagine a scenario from real life. You're negotiating a contract, and you know the other party has a budget constraint. That's one weakness, their limited financial resources. But perhaps you also discover they have a strict deadline due to internal company policies. If you leverage both the budget and the time constraint wisely, you create a negotiating edge. They can handle one problem at a time, but tackling two simultaneously strains their position, giving you a chance to strike a better deal. Magnus Carlsen exemplifies this principle on the chessboard. He's known for his grinding style, where he'll identify a structural weakness, maybe a backward pawn on a semi-open file, and then, slowly and methodically, he probes for a second point of vulnerability. It might be a weakened king, an overloaded piece, or another pawn that's immobile. Once Carlsen sees his opponent's resources splitting, he ratchets up the pressure, often winning seemingly equal positions. His success underscores the psychological message. Patience, plus the methodical creation of multiple threats, can systematically wear down even the strongest adversaries. Transition phases, from opening to endgame. We often hear about chess in three phases: the opening, the middle game, and the endgame. Each phase requires distinct strategic and psychological approaches. The opening is about claiming territory and developing your pieces. The middle game is where you grapple with complexities, often orchestrating attacks or playing for positional advantages. Finally, the endgame is typically more technical, focusing on the nuanced interplay of fewer pieces. However, one of the most delicate moments in chess is the transition between these phases. Shifting gears at the right time can make or break your position. Maybe you've achieved a comfortable edge in the opening. How do you convert that into tangible threats in the middle game? Or, conversely, you've fended off an assault in the middle game. How do you simplify into an end game that you can realistically win? This transitional skill is deeply psychological. It demands the ability to sense the flow of the game, just as a driver knows when to shift gears to maintain acceleration. A chess player must feel when the position is ripe for a transition. Consider the legendary matches between Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov. Kasparov excelled at dynamic, attacking middle games, while Karpov was the quintessential positional maestro who thrived in quiet, strategic battles. In their epic encounters, the transitions often determined the outcome. If Kasparov could steer the game into sharp complications early, he'd likely gain an edge. If Karpov could guide the position toward a balanced endgame with subtle piece play, his chances soared. Each champion fought to push the game into the domain where they felt most comfortable, illustrating how the mental readiness to shift phases can dictate who controls the narrative. In life, transitions abound. Career changes, moving from singlehood to marriage, or even switching from one project to another at work. Like in chess, the key is timing and adaptability. If you leap too soon, you might not have laid the necessary groundwork. If you linger too long, opportunities may slip away. The psychological lesson is to learn the rhythm of your engagements, know when to expand, when to consolidate, and when to pivot. Planning. Short-term tactics versus long-term goals. Chess planning is often seen as a spectrum. On one end, short-term tactics, fast, concrete sequences to win material or deliver checkmate. On the other end, long-term strategy is slow maneuvering aimed at gaining positional advantages, such as superior pawn structure or piece activity. Tactics are exciting and can end the game in a flurry of moves, but if you focus solely on tactics, you might neglect deeper plans, making your overall approach short-sighted. Conversely, if you become too absorbed in long-term strategy, you might miss immediate opportunities or fall victim to a sudden tactical blow. Psychologically, balancing tactics and strategy demands constant situational awareness. A position that looks calm might suddenly catch fire if you spot an opening for a sacrifice. Conversely, a position that seems tactically rich might actually require a more restrained positional mindset. This is akin to life's dual track. You can have a grand vision, buying a house, building a career, or traveling the world, but you also need to handle day-to-day tasks, paying bills, meeting deadlines, that keep your reality grounded. Success arises from toggling between these two perspectives fluidly. Take Vishy Anand, known for his lightning-fast calculations, and also for his capacity to smoothly switch gears. In his prime, Anand could sense when the position called for a forcing line, often finding brilliant tactical resources, yet he also had no qualms about simplifying into a quiet endgame if that approach promised a more secure path to victory. His mental flexibility is a testament to the dynamic interplay between short-term tactics and long-term strategic thinking. Adaptability. The Grandmaster's secret weapon. Adaptability is one of the least talked about yet most critical psychological attributes in chess. You might come to the board with a prepared opening line, anticipating your opponent's typical setups. But what if they deviate on move 3, or choose an offbeat system you rarely face? If you cling stubbornly to your pre-game script, you risk stepping into unknown territory with no plan B. Adaptability means you're ready to meet the situation on its terms. It involves swiftly recalibrating your mental model of the position and adjusting your overall plan. Indeed, many top grandmasters speak of opening surprise as a legitimate strategy. By playing something unexpected, you nudge your opponent out of their comfort zone. Then, their psychological resilience, how well they adapt, often decides the outcome. Away from the board, adaptability is essential for modern life. Industries evolve, relationships shift, and technology disrupts old ways of doing things. People who can pivot gracefully, who view change not as a crisis, but as an opportunity to grow, tend to thrive. Chess trains this muscle by repeatedly challenging you to handle unpredictable moves and dynamic positions. Prophylaxis, preventing problems before they arise. Another strategic concept that resonates deeply with psychology is prophylaxis, moves aimed at preventing the opponent's plan before it even begins. Tigran Petrosian, the 9th world champion, was famous for his almost psychic ability to neutralize threats preemptively. He would subtly rearrange his pieces, blocking key squares or controlling critical files, so that by the time his opponent tried to execute an attack, they found the path blocked. In life, prophylaxis equates to anticipatory thinking. Are you planning a career move? Then update your skill set before you officially apply for the new role. Worried about financial downturns? Build an emergency fund rather than waiting for a crisis. These proactive measures can avert bigger problems down the road. Yet prophylaxis requires psychological maturity. It's not flashy or immediately rewarding. Sometimes it feels like you're doing nothing. But just as in chess, solid defensive moves can protect you from ruinous attacks. The discipline to invest in prevention rather than reacting only when trouble hits can be a game changer, both on the chessboard and off it. The broader truth, mastering complexity. Why delve so deeply into these strategic principles? 2 weaknesses, transitions, tactical versus strategic planning, adaptability, and prophylaxis. Because they highlight a broader truth. Mastering complexity involves both a holistic perspective and attention to detail. You need the big picture, where the game, or your life, is heading, and the micro-level awareness of each threat, each resource, and each opportunity. From a psychological standpoint, this mastery of complexity nurtures confidence. When you understand that positions can shift, and that you have tools to adapt, you feel less overwhelmed. You trust that whether the road is smooth or rough, your mindset and strategic know-how can keep you on track. That said, perfection is impossible. Even grandmasters lose. Even the best life plans falter. But by studying these principles and applying their psychological lessons, you arm yourself with resilience. You learn that a temporary setback can be flipped into an advantage if you spot the opportunity. You discover that an unexpected detour might lead to a more creative solution than your original plan. The chessboard, in other words, becomes a safe laboratory for testing and refining the strategies you'll rely on in the wider world. Famous matches illustrating strategic paradigms. The principles we've discussed, like creating multiple weaknesses, timing your transitions, balancing tactics and long-term goals, cultivating adaptability, and playing prophylactically, have shaped many of the most celebrated games in chess history. Let's walk through a few key examples that bring these ideas to life. Fischer vs. Spassky, 1972. Psychology meets strategy. The 1972 World Championship battle between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky is legendary, not only for the Cold War context, but also for the psychological swings that defined it. Fischer's unpredictability caught Spassky off balance. Early in the match, Fischer lost Game 2, seemingly self-sabotaging. Yet that tactical blunder in his personal demeanor gave way to a strategic masterpiece later on, as Fischer adapted and took charge. Fischer famously deviated from his usual 1e4 openings to surprise Spassky with 1c4, the English opening, and even the Alekhine's defense as black, a clear demonstration of adaptability. These offbeat choices forced Spassky into less familiar territory, turning the psychological tables. Fischer took advantage of any small misstep, effectively applying the principle of 2 weaknesses by pressing Spassky on multiple fronts. Sometimes it was an isolated pawn, other times it was time pressure, or simply Spassky's uncertainty about Fischer's next unorthodox idea. The final outcome was a victory for Fischer, who showed that mental resilience and the willingness to deviate from standard scripts can be as decisive as tactical brilliance. Kasparov vs. Karpov, the clash of two philosophies. No rivalry illustrates chess psychology more deeply than Garry Kasparov versus Anatoly Karpov. Their matches throughout the 1980s and early 1990s were epic contests of styles. Kasparov, aggressive, dynamic, and eager to transform positions into tactical mines waiting to explode. Karpov, highly prophylactic, positional, and patient, excelling in transitioning to simplified endgames. In their 1985 match, Kasparov stunned onlookers with a series of sacrificial onslaughts, demonstrating how a surge of emotional energy can fuel creativity. Yet Karpov nearly always found defensive resources, epitomizing prophylaxis. He consistently placed his pieces where they would both guard existing weaknesses and prevent new ones. The deciding factor often hinged on transitions. When Kasparov successfully steered the game into chaotic middle games, he gained the upper hand. When Karpov steered the game into quiet but tense endgames, he wrestled back control. Each champion showcased how critical it is to sense the ebb and flow of a position, proving that timing the shift from one phase to another can decide who seizes the initiative. Carlsen vs. Karyakin, 2016. The Endgame Grind. In the 2016 World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karyakin, many games began in calm positions, only to intensify in the endgame. Carlsen, known for his remarkable endgame prowess, systematically created micro-imbalances, slightly better pawn structures or incremental piece activity, demonstrating the art of accumulating small advantages. When Carlsen reached seemingly equal endgames, he employed the principle of two weaknesses to eke out victories. His unrelenting psychological pressure forced Karyakin to defend precisely, move after move, often under time duress. Even though Karyakin demonstrated world-class resilience, Carlsen's ability to keep the tension going ultimately prevailed. This match illustrated how patience, mental stamina, and a willingness to convert a minimal advantage into a win can be as devastating as a direct tactical strike. Psychological preparation in the internet era. Chess has changed drastically with the advent of powerful engines like Stockfish, LC0, and others, and the proliferation of online platforms. These tools have revolutionized opening preparation, endgame study, and even the way players handle psychological pressure. Opening preparation, a double-edged sword. Modern engines can churn through millions of positions in seconds, revealing hidden tactical resources and strategic plans. Consequently, at the professional level, players show up to tournaments armed with reams of opening theory, sometimes memorized dozens of moves deep. This can be psychologically daunting. If you fail to keep pace with the ever-evolving engine-approved lines, you risk getting ambushed in the opening. Yet, there's an interesting psychological paradox here. While engines enhance knowledge, they can also undermine creativity if relied upon too heavily. Some players find themselves in a rut, trying to replicate a computer's style rather than forging their own dynamic approach. Grandmasters who blend engine prep with human intuition, such as Hikaru Nakamura and Ding Liren, often gain an edge by surprising opponents with lines that engines evaluate as slightly less optimal, but are trickier for humans to face. This engine-driven environment underscores the importance of adaptability and confidence in your own style. Computers can give you perfect lines, but they can't play the game for you once you're at the board. Under time pressure and psychological stress, your own instincts and mental resilience still rule the day. Online chess. The mind games continue. The boom of online chess, through platforms like chess.com, Lichess and others, has also opened up new psychological dimensions. Players can now compete anytime, anywhere, which offers two major shifts. Increased volume of practice. Aspiring players can log thousands of blitz or rapid games online, refining their tactics and pattern recognition. This volume can accelerate improvement, but also breed some bad habits, like over-reliance on quick, intuitive moves without deeper calculation, anonymity and emotional detachment. Online, You often face opponents with usernames instead of real names. This anonymity can reduce the intimidation factor. He's not a grandmaster, he's just chess wizard 123. But can also lead to a sense of disconnection from the psychological battle. Face-to-face cues, body language, posture, eye contact are absent. This can be liberating or unsettling depending on the player. For many, the transition back to over-the-board chess after extensive online play requires relearning how to manage in-person nerves. The ticking clock you can't hide, the rustle of the crowd, the physical presence of a formidable opponent across the table. Once again, adaptability and mental discipline remain paramount. AI training partners, friend or foe. Beyond opening prep and online play, the most profound change is the rise of AI-driven training. Today's top engines are far stronger than any human player. Training with them can reveal brilliant ideas that sharpen one's understanding of complex positions. But there's a psychological cost. Repeated exposure to near-perfect play might sow self-doubt. A human can start feeling, if I can't replicate the engine's precision, am I making too many mistakes? At the same time, certain players, including Magnus Carlsen, have spoken about how analyzing with engines has taught them humility. Even after becoming world champion, Carlsen discovered hidden refutations or improvements in his own games that the engine instantly identified. Rather than discouraging him, he used this knowledge to continue refining his approach. It's a reminder that learning from losses and from less than perfect moves can be the fastest route to growth, an enduring psychological lesson that transcends chess itself. Case study: a rising talent's online journey. Imagine a young prodigy, Eleanor, who hones her skills primarily online. She's 15 years old, rated around 2400 on various servers, and can rattle off bullet games at hyper speeds. Eleanor idolizes Carlsen, but also draws inspiration from streamers who popularize the game on Twitch. She's comfortable trash-talking in chat, and thrives on the adrenaline rush of last-second checkmates. However, when Elena enters her first major over-the-board tournament, she faces a starkly different atmosphere. No chat window, no bullet time controls, and a silent playing hall with hundreds of watchful eyes. In the first round, she ends up in a slow, positional fight and blunders because she impulsively makes a move without the deeper calculation that classical time formats demand. Elena learns the hard way that her online reflexes need to be balanced with over-the-board composure. Over time, Elena adapts, integrating rigorous post-game analysis with engine help, but also practicing meditation to handle her nerves. She realizes that chess mastery in the 21st century requires a seamless fusion of digital tools, psychological fortitude, and real-world competitive grit. Her journey encapsulates the broader transformation of modern chess, equal parts technology and timeless human struggle. Synthesizing traditional and modern approaches. The evolution of chess in the internet era doesn't nullify classic strategic paradigms. Rather, it complements them. The principle of two weaknesses is as relevant as ever, whether you're playing on a wooden board in a grand hall or at home in your pajamas. Prophylaxis, adaptability, and timely transitions remain crucial, even if you've memorized the latest engine lines. In many ways, the technology boom has re-emphasized the importance of human psychology. Since everyone has near-equal access to top-notch analysis tools, what often distinguishes a victor isn't just who knows more, but who can handle pressure, innovate under uncertain conditions, and remain resilient in the face of setbacks. Personality-driven playing styles, the chessboard as self-expression. One fascinating aspect of chess psychology is how a player's personality often influences their style of play. While the game itself is fundamentally about strategy and tactics, the manner in which a person seeks out or avoids complexity, conflict, and risk mirrors their deeper inclinations. Just as some people are spontaneous thrill seekers, while others are more cautious planners, so too do chess players exhibit distinct profiles on the board. Of course, most high-level players eventually strive for a universal style, blending both sharp attacks and quiet positional maneuvers, but everyone has a natural comfort zone. Understanding your own inclinations and those of your opponent can grant a significant psychological edge. If you know you thrive in open positions with lots of piece play, steering the game towards such chaos can boost your confidence. Conversely, if your opponent hates complications, forcing them into a wild middle game might prompt errors. Let's delve into a few archetypes to illustrate how personality can manifest in chess. The fierce attacker. Representative, Mikhail Tal, dubbed the Magician from Riga. Hallmarks: bold sacrifices, relentless aggression, creative resourcefulness. Psychological underpinnings: a deep belief in their ability to conjure winning chances, even from seemingly dire positions. Players of this ilk view the board like a stage for high drama. They relish complications because they trust their intuition and imagination. On a personal level, these individuals might be extroverted, impulsive, and eager to make things happen. The downside is that if the attacker overreaches or the opponent defends calmly, the house of cards can collapse. Yet the fierce attacker often sees risk-taking as an essential ingredient of creativity and excitement. In real-life parallels, these are the go-getters who pitch bold ideas in meetings or invest in high-volatility ventures, thriving on adrenaline. Their strength is innovation. Their pitfall can be a lack of patience or ignoring potential pitfalls until it's too late. The cautious defender. Representative, Tigran Petrosian, known for his prophylactic style and near-impenetrable defense. Hallmarks: quiet maneuvering, deep prophylaxis, steady consolidation, mastering positions that are safe but with potential. Psychological underpinnings: a preference for risk management and a desire to control chaos before it even arises. If the fierce attacker is all about fireworks, the cautious defender wants to extinguish the sparks before they ignite. This player often outlasts opponents by denying them active play. They methodically shore up every weakness, waiting for the opponent to grow impatient or overextend. In life, these personalities might be described as planners or guardians, inclined to ensure stability before taking action. They might excel at long-term projects, but sometimes struggle when forced to improvise under chaotic conditions. The pragmatic, universal style. Representative, Magnus Carlsen, often termed a sponge, adapting to whatever the position demands. Hallmarks: extreme flexibility, solid fundamentals, an uncanny sense of timing for both attack and defense. Psychological underpinnings: a calm, well-rounded outlook that values objectivity above any single preference. Carlsen and many modern elite players demonstrate a universal approach. If the position calls for aggression, they can muster it. If caution is demanded, they can happily sit back and neutralize threats. This is the style that emerges once a player has studied all facets of the game and developed confidence in each area. The pragmatic universalist, in real life, is the adaptable multitasker who can fill multiple roles on a team or switch between creative and analytical modes with ease. Confidence, the hidden catalyst. Across all these styles, there is one crucial psychological factor that can make or break a game: confidence. The difference between a brilliant gambit and a reckless blunder often lies in whether you believe in your own plan and your ability to handle the repercussions. Healthy confidence versus overconfidence. Healthy confidence. You trust your calculation and experience, but you still verify. This encourages you to seize opportunities rather than fear mistakes. Overconfidence. You dismiss potential dangers or assume the opponent must be worse. This leads to careless blunders. A prime example is Bobby Fischer. His famous quote, "I don't believe in psychology, I believe in good moves," might sound dismissive of mental factors, but in reality, Fischer's unwavering self-belief was itself a massive psychological weapon. Opponents often collapsed under the aura of his confidence, second-guessing their own moves. Overconfidence, on the other hand, can be seen in players who launch an attack without fully calculating the defense, or those who stay in losing positions believing they have a trick, only to be proven wrong move after move. This pitfall exists off the board too. A business leader so certain of their plan's genius might ignore market feedback, ending in a costly failure. The lesson is that confidence must be balanced by humility. The fear factor, playing not to lose. On the flip side of overconfidence is fear, the reluctance to make a move because you dread the potential mistakes. Chess players who succumb to fear often avoid any risk, missing critical opportunities to seize the initiative. They might overvalue defensive solidity to the point where they fail to mount any meaningful counterplay. In psychology, we sometimes call this loss aversion, the tendency to be more motivated by avoiding a loss than by seeking an equivalent gain. In chess terms, this manifests as passivity, a player who refuses to expand or try new strategies because they fear a counterattack. While caution is sometimes prudent, consistently playing not to lose can be a recipe for stagnation and, ironically, eventual defeat. From a life perspective, a fear-driven mindset may keep us from pursuing new careers, relocating to different cities, or taking on challenges that could foster growth. The board reminds us that all progress entails some risk, and that calculated risk, grounded in self-belief, often paves the way to success. Style evolution. When personality grows and adapts. A fascinating phenomenon in chess is how one's style can evolve over time, often reflecting personal growth or changing perspectives. Young grandmasters, often hyper-aggressive, enjoying complicated battles. Their boundless energy and willingness to experiment are assets, but they may overlook subtle positional details. Mid-career masters, typically more balanced, having learned from painful defeats in wild positions. They blend attack and defense more seamlessly. Veterans. Many older champions lean on deep positional understanding and endgame prowess, using experience to outmaneuver brash opponents. Their strategic insights compensate for any diminished energy for hair-raising tactics. This life cycle of playing style often parallels personal maturity. People who were once impulsive risk-takers might develop more measured approaches as they gather real-world wisdom. Conversely, those who start off overly cautious can gain confidence through successes, discovering new potentials for creativity and initiative. A real-life example, the recovered Gambit. Let's illustrate these themes with a short tale about Harper, a competitive chess player who started off as a fierce attacker. In her late teens, Harper built a reputation for explosive, all-or-nothing games. She'd pull off brilliant wins against unsuspecting opponents, but when faced with stoic defenders, she'd often overextend and lose miserably. Frustrated by her inconsistency, Harper decided to reshape her approach. She began studying endgames and quieter systems like the London Opening, forcing herself to understand positional nuances. Over time, her style began to shift. She could still unleash an attack when conditions were ripe, but she was no longer reliant on it. By the time Harper entered her 20s, her rating soared because opponents couldn't pigeonhole her as a one-dimensional gambler. This personal story underscores the psychological arc many players go through. By acknowledging her limitations and proactively branching out, Harper discovered a richer, more flexible style. The same principle can apply to anyone striving to grow beyond their comfort zone, whether in negotiations, athletics, artistic endeavors, or any competitive field. Lessons for the wider world. Know thyself. Awareness of your natural style is the first step. Do you gravitate toward risk or shy away from it? Identifying this preference helps you leverage your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Respect your opponent's psychology. By recognizing how they might respond to pressure or complexity, you can craft a game plan that leads them out of their comfort zone. Balance confidence and caution. Success in any endeavor requires self-belief tempered by realism. Neither extreme, recklessness nor paralyzing fear is constructive. Be willing to evolve. Long-term success often depends on shedding outdated mindsets and embracing new skills. Adaptation is key to staying ahead in a changing environment. Build sustainable strengths. Like Harper's journey, aim for a style that merges excitement with stability. In life, that might mean combining creativity with discipline, or passion with preparation. Chess is a living tapestry of human personality. Each piece moved on the board is a small reflection of personal intuition, risk tolerance, and emotional nuance. Understanding how these traits shape play can give us a deeper appreciation for the game and a clearer mirror through which to view ourselves. The holistic dimension, mind and body in harmony. Mention chess player, and many imagine someone hunched over a board, deep in concentration, perhaps surviving on cups of coffee and bursts of nervous energy. But as chess has professionalized, it's become increasingly clear that physical health and mental acuity are intimately connected. Top grandmasters aren't just training with databases and engines, they're also hitting the gym, monitoring their diets, and focusing on rest and recovery. Why? Because at the highest levels of play, even the slightest edge in stamina or clarity of thought can swing a game's outcome. From casual weekend tournaments to world championship matches, chess can be a marathon of the mind. Elite players often face multiple hours at the board each day, across many days, with their entire ranking, reputation, and prize money on the line. And while chess doesn't require sprinting or heavy lifting, mental exertion can deplete the body in similar ways. Energy is consumed, stress hormones flood the system, and staying focused for extended periods becomes a serious physiological challenge. Stamina, the endurance game of chess. When playing a classical game, where each side might have upwards of 2 hours on the clock, chess becomes an endurance test. It's not just about finding the best moves, it's about maintaining high-level thought for the entirety of a lengthy duel. During a professional tournament, a player might need to sustain that intensity for 9, 10, or even more rounds. Cognitive load. Each move demands a mini burst of problem-solving, visualization, and evaluation of outcomes. Multiply that by 40 or 50 moves, and you have a serious mental workout. Emotional stress. As we've discussed, psychological factors like blunders, time pressure, and fear of losing can erode mental energy. Over several hours, emotional strain can sap a player's willpower. Physical effects. Although you're just sitting, your body and brain are burning through calories. Studies suggest that competitive chess players can burn hundreds of calories per match, even though they're stationary, because of the heightened mental processes, stress, and elevated heart rates. In a famous anecdote, Garry Kasparov reportedly lost up to 10 pounds during a grueling World Championship match. While that may sound extreme, it underscores how sustaining concentration can be physically taxing. This is why top players often train as though they were athletes, running, doing yoga, or following a strength training routine. Nutrition, fueling the brain. What we eat profoundly influences how we think. During tournaments, many chess players refine their diets to ensure steady energy and mental clarity. Some prefer smaller, more frequent snacks to avoid energy crashes, while others swear by a substantial, balanced meal a couple of hours before the round. Common guidelines include stable blood sugar, foods with a low glycemic index, like whole grains, fruits, and nuts, keep energy levels consistent. Rapid spikes in blood sugar from sugary snacks can lead to a crash in the middle of a critical game phase. Adequate hydration. The brain needs water to function optimally. Dehydration, even mild, can impair memory and concentration. Light, easily digestible meals. Eating a heavy meal right before playing can lead to lethargy, as the body diverts energy toward digestion. Magnus Carlsen has occasionally mentioned eating meals rich in protein and slow-burning carbohydrates before important matches to sustain his alertness. Some players also use caffeine in moderation for heightened focus, but overuse can lead to jitters and quick energy crashes. It's all about finding a personal balance that supports extended mental performance. The role of exercise, sharpening the mind through movement. Regular exercise is among the best-known ways to boost cognitive function. Physical activity improves blood flow. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients reach the brain. Reduces stress. Exercise releases endorphins, counteracting stress hormones like cortisol. Enhances mental resilience. A fit body often correlates with a more alert, stress-resistant mind. Grandmasters like Vishy Anand and Fabiano Caruana have spoken about how physical workouts, jogging, swimming, or gym routines help them arrive at the board feeling mentally fresh. It's not about being a bodybuilder, rather it's about building endurance, lowering stress, and increasing focus. Rest and recovery, the silent pillar of success. In an age where many equate success with constant hustle, rest can be overlooked. Yet for a chess player, quality sleep and downtime are vital. Why? Memory consolidation. Much of what we learn is processed and embedded in our brains during sleep. For chess players studying opening lines and endgame techniques, insufficient rest can cause studied patterns to fade. Mood regulation. Fatigue can amplify irritability and anxiety, two psychological factors that can disrupt a game plan. Fresh perspective. Stepping away from the board, through hobbies, socializing, or even a short walk, can help the subconscious mind work through complex positions. This phenomenon is akin to sleeping on it when you have a tricky real-life decision. Mikhail Botvinnik, the 6th world champion, famously advocated for a balanced routine, which included adequate rest. He believed a fatigued mind was more prone to misjudgments and that a well-rested competitor could often outlast a more tired but perhaps equally skilled opponent. Breathing and mindfulness. Small techniques, big impact. While major lifestyle adjustments like exercise and diet are important, many chess players also use quick, in-the-moment techniques to maintain composure during a game. Deep breathing. Taking a slow, deliberate breath before making a critical decision can calm nerves and reduce impulsivity. Micro breaks. If allowed by the rules, briefly stepping away from the board to stretch or walk can reset mental tension. Mindful body scan. Some players learn to tune into physical tension, clenched jaws, stiff shoulders, and consciously relax those muscles to stay calm under pressure. These practices mirror the advice often given in high-stress professions, surgeons, military personnel, or public speakers, where remaining focused and calm is paramount. The lesson? Even minor changes to your physiological state can ripple into significant improvements in mental clarity. The invisible opponent, stress management. Stress itself becomes a hidden opponent over the course of a long tournament. It can manifest in various ways: physical stiffness, negative self-talk, racing thoughts, and ultimately sabotage performance. Effective stress management strategies include positive self-talk, replacing defeatist internal comments, "I'm probably going to lose," with constructive reminders, "Focus on the position, find the best move," can shift your mindset from fearful to proactive. Preparation rituals. Arriving at the tournament hall early, setting up your space comfortably, and reviewing key opening lines can create a sense of control. Acceptance of anxiety. Understanding that a certain degree of stress is normal in competition. Instead of fighting it, players can channel it into heightened awareness. Like adrenaline for athletes, moderate stress can be a catalyst for peak performance. Viswanathan Anand once mentioned that before critical matches, he found listening to music helped him maintain a relaxed, yet focused, mindset. Others might chat with friends, visualize successful scenarios, or even crack jokes to lessen the psychological pressure. Bridging the gap, from chessboard to everyday life. What's the relevance of these holistic considerations for those who don't play competitive chess? The same principles apply to any field requiring sustained mental effort, whether you're a software engineer coding for hours, a student studying for final exams, or a writer tackling a long-term project. Some universal tips: prioritize physical health. A well-nourished and exercised body supports a sharper mind. balance work and rest. Extended mental strain without breaks can lead to burnout. Strategic pauses, good sleep, and leisure activities rejuvenate cognitive functioning. Mindful stress regulation. Recognize that stress is part of striving for goals. Learning to manage it, rather than eradicate it, can transform pressure into an asset. Rituals and routines. Creating consistent pre-work rituals, similar to a pre-game routine, can ground you, helping you transition into focus mode more effectively. Gradual improvement. Just as a chess player works on small aspects of endgame or opening theory daily, incremental, consistent efforts in your craft can lead to significant leaps over time. The common denominator in all these elements, be it nutrition, exercise, or rest, is that chess performance, and by extension, intellectual performance, is never just about the mind in isolation. It is the harmonious interplay between body, mind, and environment that fuels excellence. The complete competitor. Ultimately, chess is an art, a science, and, when viewed through the lens of holistic well-being, a sport that demands a body-mind synergy. Whether you're preparing for a world championship or just want to make sharper decisions in daily life, tending to the physical as well as the mental can yield transformative benefits. When your body is healthy and your mind is calm, the 64 squares become a canvas for your best ideas, unclouded by fatigue or stress. Grandmasters might not need the stamina of marathoners, but they do need the same level of discipline, balance, and endurance, proving that the battle of wits truly is a full-body affair. Chess in the public eye, the weight of expectations. While the chessboard is a place of solitary focus, it often exists within a larger social and cultural arena. When two top players square off, they don't just face each other, they face the expectations of their fans, the critiques of commentators, and, at times, the hopes of an entire nation. This social dimension can dramatically affect a competitor's psychological state, adding layers of pressure or, conversely, providing motivational fuel. Spectators, a live audience's influence. In classical over-the-board tournaments, a physical audience can gather behind ropes or in small galleries, watching each move with bated breath. Although chess spectators tend to be more reserved than those at, say, a soccer match, their presence is still palpable. A hush falls over the room when a player hovers a hand over a piece for a critical decision. You might hear a collective intake of breath when a bold sacrifice hits the board. All of these subtle cues can shape a player's emotional landscape. Some thrive on this sense of occasion, like Garry Kasparov, who often seemed energized by the big stage. Others feel self-conscious, sensing every slight grimace or murmured whisper. Even the sound of a single spectator shifting in a chair can momentarily break concentration. Online, the dynamic shifts. Viewers from around the world might tune in via streaming platforms, chat rooms, or social media threads. The crowd is invisible to the player, yet the knowledge that tens of thousands may be watching, commenting in real time, can create its own form of pressure. Add in the adrenaline of live commentary dissecting your every move, and the stakes feel high. It's a reminder that even though chess is nominally a game of two players, it often unfolds on a global stage. The media spotlight, fame, criticism, and the mind. Once a game concludes, especially a high-profile game, commentators, journalists, and social media explode with analyses. The player's moves might be lauded as genius or ridiculed as amateurish. Such public scrutiny can have real psychological repercussions, particularly in the era of instant online feedback. Magnus Carlsen has commented on how he mostly avoids reading too much about himself during intense tournaments. He prefers to keep his mind clear rather than fixate on media narratives or criticisms. Conversely, some players find motivation in doubters. If the press declares them an underdog, they take it as a challenge, fueling a fierce determination to prove everyone wrong. Managing the media is a balancing act, staying aware enough to handle press obligations, especially at elite levels where sponsors and interviews are part of the profession, without becoming overwhelmed by external noise. Like an actor preparing for a live performance, a top chess player learns to compartmentalize. The spotlight is there, but the performance on the board demands the lion's share of mental focus. National pride and the burden of representation. In some countries, Russia, India, China, Norway, chess players can achieve near-celebrity status. When Viswanathan Anand became India's first Grandmaster and then a world champion, he was catapulted to national hero status. Similarly, Magnus Carlsen put Norway on the global chess map, generating an unprecedented national interest in the game. While this fame can usher in sponsorships and fan support, it can also create a hefty burden, the sense of carrying a country's dreams on your shoulders. Patriotic expectation. Fans may view each international match as a symbolic battle, pitting national pride against rivals. This can make a loss feel like letting an entire nation down, compounding the usual disappointment. Hero worship. A champion might struggle with the pressure to remain a flawless role model, both on and off the board. Any personal misstep or performance dip could spark intense public scrutiny. From a psychological standpoint, learning to navigate these heightened stakes involves harnessing national support as a source of strength rather than letting it morph into an anxiety-inducing weight. Some champions work closely with sports psychologists to maintain perspective, ensuring they understand they're playing not just for others, but also for their own love of the game. Online platforms, instant feedback and trolling. The rise of the internet has democratized chess. Platforms like chess.com, Lichess and Twitch have made it possible for amateurs to follow, analyze, and even comment on the moves of grandmasters in real time. While this has broadened the game's appeal, it also opens the floodgates for instant feedback, which can be both enlightening and toxic. Positive community. Many forums foster supportive interactions, where fans celebrate great moves, share educational resources, and encourage newcomers. Trolling and negativity. The anonymity of the internet can fuel harsh criticism, personal attacks, and backseat grandmasters who belittle any perceived mistake. For a professional competitor, learning how, and whether, to engage with these online spaces becomes part of modern chess psychology. Some players turn off chat, block toxic users, or designate a manager to filter social media mentions. Others might enjoy interacting with fans but need to set strict boundaries to protect their mental well-being. Coaching, mentorship, and team dynamics. Behind almost every great champion is a team. While chess is an individual pursuit, coaches, trainers, and seconds, assistant analysts, play a vital role in shaping a player's psychological approach. Coaches as strategists. A coach helps dissect openings, endgames, and strategies. But the relationship often extends beyond the board, touching on self-belief and emotional resilience. Team support. At the highest level, e.g. World Championship matches, players have a team of seconds who analyze variations, come up with new ideas, and help with post-game morale. This camaraderie can alleviate loneliness, especially during lengthy events. Mentors for the mind. Some players work with sports psychologists to develop techniques for focus, stress management, and motivation. Others rely on older chess legends for advice and insight, like Garry Kasparov, famously mentoring rising stars, offering both strategic tips and psychological wisdom. This mentorship factor reflects a basic human truth. Progress accelerates when guided by experienced individuals who understand not just the technicalities of a craft, but also its emotional demands. In everyday life, a good mentor or manager can provide similar support, helping you navigate workplace politics, manage stress, and unlock your full potential. Cultural differences and playing styles. Chess has long been recognized as a global game, and cultural backgrounds can influence how players approach it psychologically. For instance, Russian-Soviet tradition. Historically, a system of state-sponsored chess schools and strong mentorship shaped players like Anatoly Karpov, Garry Kasparov, and Vladimir Kramnik. many emphasized rigorous preparation and a methodical approach. Indian chess renaissance. Inspired by Viswanathan Anand, a wave of young Indian talents have come up using a mix of intense online training and structured academies. Confidence, creativity, and a willingness to learn from technology are hallmarks. Chinese chess culture, known for disciplined, systematic training regimens with a strong emphasis on endgames and thorough analysis. Psychological pressure can be high due to expectations from a large, achievement-oriented population. Nordic calm. Magnus Carlsen's success is sometimes linked to a cultural ethos in Norway that values balanced living, calm demeanor, and steady self-confidence, traits mirrored in Carlsen's seemingly unflappable style. While individual personalities vary, these overarching cultural influences can shape a player's mental outlook, strategic preferences, and even how they handle stressful moments at the board. A brief story, a rising star and her village. Imagine a 12-year-old girl named Kamala from a small village that has produced a string of talented young players, inspired by a visiting grandmaster's exhibition match years ago. Kamala's daily routine includes juggling school, household chores, and practice games with her coach, a local teacher who recognized her talent early on. As Kamala starts winning regional tournaments, she feels a surge of local pride behind her. The entire village contributes to her travel expenses, rooting for her as their chess ambassador. Her photograph appears on local news channels, and she's hailed as an inspiration for other children. With each new accolade, Kamala's sense of responsibility grows. She knows she's not just playing for herself, but also for the dreams of those who believe in her. In a pivotal national event, she faces a more experienced player and momentarily feels overwhelmed by the pressure. However, recalling the support from her home community, she steadies her nerves. She plays with an almost meditative focus, wins a critical point, and advances. Later in interviews, Kamala talks about how the positive energy of her village carried her through the toughest moments, an example of how cultural and social factors can become a profound psychological asset. Lessons for life. Thriving under external pressure. For those of us outside competitive chess, these socio-cultural dynamics still resonate. Self-awareness. Recognize how external opinions or expectations may be affecting your confidence and decision-making. Healthy boundaries. It's okay, even wise, to limit exposure to social media or critical feedback if it compromises your mental state. Support systems. Seek mentors, coaches, or supportive peers. Harness collective energy as motivation rather than a source of anxiety. Channeling pride. Embrace the positive aspects of representing a group or organization, but don't let it inflate into overwhelming pressure. Cultural sensitivity. If you work in a global setting, be mindful of how different backgrounds influence communication styles, risk tolerance, and stress responses. Just as a champion must handle the emotional roller coaster of competing under intense public scrutiny, we all face external pressures in our own spheres. Work deadlines, family expectations, community obligations. The chessboard teaches us that ultimately, success depends on harmonizing these outside forces with our inner purpose. Legendary players and their inner battles. Throughout chess history, certain figures stand out not just for their over-the-board brilliance, but also for the compelling psychological narratives behind their triumphs. Their stories remind us that chess is rarely a straightforward path. It's often shaped by personal struggles, identity, and unexpected obstacles. Bobby Fischer, The Genius and the Lonely Road. No discussion of chess psychology would be complete without Bobby Fischer. We've mentioned his legendary 1972 match against Boris Spassky, but Fischer's internal battles ran far deeper. Plagued by paranoia and trust issues, Fischer gradually withdrew from public life after achieving the pinnacle of success. In interviews, he sometimes alluded to feeling betrayed or misunderstood by the chess establishment. Child prodigy, adult recluse. Fischer's mind was a cauldron of extraordinary calculation power mixed with emotional turbulence. He invested so much of himself in chess that, outside the game, he seemed increasingly isolated. Lessons in single-mindedness. While dedication is admirable, Fischer's story warns us of the psychological cost when one's identity becomes too entwined with a single pursuit. Without broader support systems, the intense focus that fuels greatness can also breed loneliness. From a wider lens, Fischer's life underscores the importance of balance, how critical it is for high achievers to cultivate emotional stability and a social network that extends beyond their immediate expertise. Judith Polgar, Breaking Barriers and Gender Stereotypes. For a long time, women were systematically steered away from competitive chess, told it was a man's game. Judith Polgar shattered that myth. Rising through the ranks in the 1990s, she defeated a host of top grandmasters, including Garry Kasparov, when very few believed a woman could compete at that level. Family philosophy. Judith's father, Laszlo Polgar, famously educated his daughters at home, insisting that geniuses are made, not born. This unconventional training built Judith's self-confidence from a young age. Psychological fortitude. Entering a male-dominated arena, Judith had to navigate subtle and not-so-subtle biases. Her success showed that psychological resilience, believing in your skill despite societal skepticism, is as critical as any theoretical knowledge. Judith Polgar's legacy opened doors for many other female players, reshaping the mental landscape. Today, rising stars like Hu Yifan and Alexandra Goryachkina continue to push boundaries, proving that gender stereotypes in chess are fading, though there is still work to be done. Hikaru Nakamura, the maverick of online and over-the-board chess. Hikaru Nakamura is known for his lightning-fast blitz skills, charismatic streaming persona, and willingness to question conventional chess norms. While some critics initially dismissed his hyper-aggressive style, Nakamura refined his game, eventually breaking into the world's elite. Adaptability and reinvention. Early in his career, Nakamura relied heavily on unexpected openings, like the Benko Gambit and King's Indian Defense, and rapid tactical melees. Over time, he developed a more universal style, showing that personal growth often requires stepping out of one's comfort zone. Online pioneer. As one of the first top players to fully embrace streaming, Nakamura dealt with the psychological challenge of playing under the scrutinizing gaze of thousands of online viewers daily. He thrives in that environment, turning what could be a source of stress into a reservoir of motivation and fan connection. Nakamura's journey reflects the evolving nature of modern chess, where skill must mesh with a strategic brand and public engagement. Psychologically, he navigates social media presence, sponsored events, and intense tournaments, all while maintaining the fierce competitiveness required to tackle opponents like Magnus Carlsen. Age and chess. Youthful vigor versus experienced insight. Chess is famously a game where both youth and experience can shine, albeit in different ways. How do these factors shape the psychology of players at various life stages? Young prodigies. Teenagers like Alireza Firouzja, Gukesh D and Praggnanandhaa have stormed onto the global scene with fearless play. Their psychological advantage often lies in their lack of inhibitions. They haven't accumulated the caution that comes with repeated disappointments. This translates to explosive creativity, but sometimes a lack of endgame technique or patience. Experienced veterans, players in their 30s, 40s or beyond, like Viswanathan Anand, who remained among the world's elite past 50, rely on deep pattern recognition, endgame mastery, and balanced strategic understanding. The downside can be mental fatigue over long events, or a slight decline in quick calculation speed. In everyday life, this dynamic mirrors the energy versus wisdom balance. Younger individuals may have fresh ideas, but fewer life lessons. Older professionals bring seasoned judgment, but might be more set in their ways. Recognizing and optimizing these strengths is key to maximizing performance at any age. Gender inclusivity, changing mindsets and opportunities. While chess remains majority male, Recent initiatives, women's tournaments, mentorship programs, scholarships, are diversifying the landscape. Promoting a more inclusive environment isn't just about fairness, it's also about psychological enrichment. Role models. The visibility of strong female players like Judith Polgar and Hu Yifan encourages girls to see themselves as serious competitors. Positive feedback loops. As more women enter the field, biases diminish, forming a welcoming culture that reduces performance-related anxiety. Mixed events. Many argue that the future of gender inclusivity lies in more mixed open tournaments, ensuring that women don't feel pressured to stick to female-only competitions unless they choose to. Across all fields, the take-home message is that embracing diversity can unlock a broader range of perspectives and approaches, ultimately enriching the collective tapestry of ideas and strategies. Accessibility. Bridging gaps for differently abled players. Chess has a significant population of players with visual impairments, mobility challenges, or neurodivergent conditions like autism or ADHD. The game's adaptability, specially adapted boards, clock adjustments, or lenient tournament rules, demonstrates how a seemingly rigid contest can be made inclusive. Visual impairments. Braille chess sets and audio-based commentary have enabled visually impaired champions to compete effectively. Mobility challenges. Online platforms open doors for those unable to travel frequently, allowing them to compete globally from home. Neurodivergent players. Some individuals on the autism spectrum find chess an excellent medium for focusing their remarkable pattern recognition skills. The structured, rule-based nature of the game can be comforting compared to the unpredictability of daily interactions. From a psychological standpoint, providing inclusive structures not only levels the playing field, but also highlights a larger truth. Everyone has a unique way of perceiving and processing the game. By welcoming these differences, chess becomes a richer, more empathetic community. Overcoming personal challenges, the heart of growth. What unites these diverse players, be they prodigies, veterans, women, men, or differently abled individuals, is the act of surmounting personal hurdles. Each champion's story is a tapestry of setbacks and comebacks, underscoring the psychological grit required to evolve. Here are some universal lessons. Failure as a springboard. Every great player has lost painful games. The difference lies in how they rebound, analyzing mistakes, refining strategy, and returning stronger. Identity beyond chess. Players who maintain passions and relationships outside the game often show greater mental stability. When chess isn't your only identity, losses sting less, and victories don't inflate the ego as dangerously. Mentorship and community. The right guidance at critical junctures can turn a stumbling block into a stepping stone. Whether it's a coach who offers a new perspective or a supportive community that provides emotional buoyancy, no player succeeds in a vacuum. Adapt and evolve. Over time, your style, your competitive environment, and your life circumstances will change. Embracing this flux and adapting to it opens the door to continued growth. A short story, a late bloomer's ascent. Consider Miriam, who learned chess at 30, well past the typical age of child prodigies. Initially, she struggled against teenage opponents who seemed to calculate faster. But Miriam had a tenacious spirit and a knack for reflective thinking. She devoted evenings to studying the endgame and analyzing her own psychological blocks, such as the fear of looking foolish if she tried a bold sacrifice. Over the years, Miriam's rating climbed steadily. By 40, she defeated a string of strong players who underestimated her. They were accustomed to facing raw aggression from younger talents, but Miriam's calm, methodical approach and life experience gave her an edge in tense positions. In interviews, Miriam credited her late start for cultivating patience and a genuine love of the journey, traits that helped her surpass many peers who burnt out or grew jaded. Her story illustrates that chess, like many pursuits, rewards both determination and introspection. There's no hard age limit for improvement, and every individual's psychological makeup can become a core asset if nurtured wisely. Fostering a healthy chess culture. All these narratives, from child prodigies to late bloomers, from barriers broken by Judith Polgar to the heroic strides by differently abled players, point to one overarching theme. Chess flourishes when it respects the individual's psychological reality. That means welcoming diverse participation by gender, age, ability, or background, encouraging mentorship and community support, providing resources for mental health and stress management, rewarding creativity and resilience as much as raw ratings and results. Much like society at large, the chess world is gradually recognizing that performance and well-being go hand in hand. A culture that prizes inclusivity and emotional intelligence not only produces strong players, but also fosters more meaningful human connections. Drawing the threads together, chess as a microcosm of life. Over the course of this script, we have journeyed through the mental and emotional landscapes of chess, discussing everything from strategic principles and famous matches to the delicate role of confidence, health, and cultural context. What emerges is a portrait of chess as an unparalleled mirror for human experience. Within its 64 squares, we see the interplay of ambition, creativity, resilience, fear, and hope. We witness how our decisions, both good and bad, reflect who we are and who we aspire to be. Chess is often praised for its complexity and depth, yet what truly makes it fascinating is the human factor, the psychology behind every move. No two players see the same board exactly alike, because each mind filters the position through its own lens of experience, emotion, and intuition. This interplay of individuality against the game's fixed rules transforms a straightforward contest into a boundless tapestry of possibility. Throughout history, chess has stood the test of time precisely because it speaks to something universal in us: the drive to overcome obstacles, to anticipate threats, to harness creativity, and to grow stronger through adversity. And in a broader sense, the lessons we learn from chess are the same lessons that help us navigate life's labyrinth of challenges. Key psychological lessons for players and non-players alike. Before we close the book on this exploration, let's highlight some of the core psychological takeaways that extend beyond the board. Self-awareness. Fuels. Growth. In chess, understanding your playing style, aggressive, positional, cautious, or universal, guides your opening choices and your approach to complex positions. Likewise in life, recognizing your strengths and weaknesses allows you to craft a path suited to your temperament, making improvement more effective and fulfilling. Planning must remain flexible. The best plans in chess include room for adaptation. What if your opponent surprises you? In real life, even the most well-thought-out career or personal plans can go off track. The capacity to pivot gracefully under changing conditions is an invaluable skill. Balance confidence and humility. Too little self-belief leads to timidity and missed opportunities. Too much can morph into overconfidence and carelessness. A healthy balance, where you trust your abilities but remain open to correction, is crucial for sustained success. Harness emotions. Constructively, emotional surges, be they excitement or anxiety, can derail focus, or if channeled properly, catalyze brilliant ideas. Mindfulness, breathing techniques, or brief mental resets help ensure that emotions work for you rather than against you. Mental and physical health. Intertwine. Chess champions increasingly emphasize fitness, balanced diets, and quality rest. Whether you're competing at the board or tackling a demanding project, a healthy body supports a sharp mind. Embrace diversity and inclusion. The rise of women champions, the growth of junior stars, and the integration of players with different abilities demonstrate how broadening participation enriches the chess world, and by analogy, how diversity in any field fosters innovation and dynamism. Learn from defeat. Every grandmaster has at some point faced heartbreaking losses. In chess, a defeat is a priceless lesson in strategy and self-reflection. In life, mistakes and setbacks can become stepping stones if we're willing to analyze them honestly and evolve. Applying chess psychology to everyday situations. Career and business. Negotiations in business often mirror complex middle games, where each side maneuvers for advantage and must anticipate the other's countermoves. The chess mentality, scanning for weaknesses, planning multiple steps ahead, and adapting swiftly, can sharpen your decision-making. Learning to sacrifice a minor point to gain a long-term strategic benefit can prove invaluable in corporate dealings. Relationships and communication. Chess teaches patience and empathy. To anticipate your opponent's plan, you must put yourself in their mindset. Similarly, in personal or professional relationships, understanding others' perspectives can mitigate conflicts and lead to stronger connections. Creative endeavors. The game's blend of logic and imagination encourages out-of-the-box thinking. Whether you're a writer, artist, or innovator, you can draw parallels from the way chess openings branch into myriad possibilities. Stubborn adherence to a single vision might stifle potential brilliance. Knowing when to redirect your approach can spark fresh breakthroughs. Personal growth. The microcosm of a chess match, where you face adversity, manage time, and balance aggression with caution, reflects life's core dynamics. The lessons about resilience, self-awareness, and humility can serve as a personal development roadmap, guiding how you handle obstacles and chase improvement. The enduring mystique of chess. Why does chess continue to captivate our collective imagination century after century? In part, it's the game's elegant simplicity of rules combined with endless complexity in practice. But there's also something intangible, an aesthetic or spiritual dimension. In every brilliant move or flawless combination, we glimpse the harmony of creative thought. Grandmasters sometimes speak of a harmony on the board when a position resonates with perfect tactical and positional balance. Spectators too can sense when a game transcends mere competition to become a shared experience of beauty and discovery. This aesthetic draw can inspire lifelong devotion. Many amateur players, well into their senior years, find chess to be a kind of artistic or philosophical pursuit. Each game is a fresh canvas, inviting them to explore patterns, test their willpower, and express a personal style. The fact that no two games are ever quite the same gives chess an ever-renewing quality. There's always another masterpiece waiting to be painted. Sustaining a lifelong passion. For those who wish to keep chess in their lives long-term, consistency and curiosity are key. Studying famous games, experimenting with new openings, analyzing your own thought processes, and playing both online and face-to-face can keep the spark alive. As with any skill, stagnation leads to boredom. Continual learning transforms every match into an adventure, reinforcing chess as a source of excitement and personal growth. Yet a balanced approach matters. Chess should enhance your life, not consume it entirely. Taking periodic breaks can reignite your enthusiasm. Exploring related areas, puzzle solving, chess history, or even teaching beginners adds layers of appreciation and a sense of community. And if you decide to compete, remember that your worth isn't pinned to your rating. The real measure is in how the game challenges and enriches you. The legacy of the quiet enthusiast. Leon, a modest club player who never aspired to grandmaster titles but found in chess a lifelong companion. He started playing in his teenage years, drawn by the game's blend of creativity and challenge. Over time, Leon's career and family responsibilities grew, limiting how often he could compete. Still, he kept a small board in his study, reviewing master games between chores and office tasks. Each time Leon faced a setback, a rough day at work, a family conflict, he'd retreat to the board, not to escape reality, but to recalibrate his mind. The act of studying moves and variations soothed him, reminding him that every problem has a solution if one systematically explores possibilities. On the weekends, Leon delighted in teaching his children, passing on both the knowledge of the game and the philosophical reflections that come with it. Patience, respect for the opponent, and perseverance. Years later, when asked what chess meant to him, Leon simply said, "It helped me stay sharp, stay humble, and stay open to life's complexities." Though he never earned a notable title, Leon exemplified what the game can offer to anyone who interacts with it sincerely: a channel for inner growth, a bridge to meaningful social connections, and a gentle reminder that beauty can be found in the interplay of strategy and creativity. The board is set and the mind is ready. As we conclude this 10-part exploration, we recognize that the true power of chess lies in its ability to reflect and refine the human spirit. From children learning the basics to world champions competing for the highest stakes, every player embarks on a journey that tests intellect, emotion, and character. It is a game, a source of fun and intellectual stimulation. It is a teacher, showing us the repercussions of hasty moves and the rewards of careful planning. It is a mirror, revealing who we are under pressure and how we react to victory or defeat. It is a metaphor for life, reminding us to keep our eyes on the big picture while never neglecting crucial details. In the end, the essence of chess psychology is about knowing yourself and evolving through the interplay of logic and intuition, competition and camaraderie, ambition and humility. Whether you're a die-hard enthusiast or someone who's never touched a pawn, the lessons from the chessboard can illuminate the path toward greater self-awareness, resilience, and joy in the pursuit of mastery, both on and off the board. Checkmate? Not quite. In chess, as in life, every ending is but a doorway to a fresh game, a new horizon. The invitation stands: set up the pieces, open your mind, and let the dance of ideas and emotions commence anew.